Well, he was known as the King of the Stretford End, a hero for Manchester United and for Scotland.
The great Denis Law has passed away at the age of 84.
Well, we can now speak to one of Denis's former teammates, played alongside him at Manchester City, and Mike Summerbee joins us right now. Mike, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us this morning. I appreciate it's been a really tough week for you with also the passing of your old captain, Tony Book, earlier this week at Manchester City. But if we can start by talking about Denis. I mean, you played alongside him and against him, I'm sure. How good was he?
Well, he was one of the top players you've ever come across. He was just a great player. His ability to score goals and be in the right place at the right time was unbelievable. And he was aggressive as well. He was a tough guy as well. But he was also a really top man. He was a top player. We're missing somebody now that's made such an impact on the game of football in this country.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful tribute, and everyone says that. I mean, not just a great player on the pitch, but a wonderful guy off it as well. He had a great character about him, didn't he?
He was unique. He was in his way. He was just a nice man. To be able to be privileged to play in the same team as him was, and also as a friend, was. I'm getting a bit emotional now.
Yeah, bless you. I know it is really tough news, and we appreciate you taking some time just to come and speak about your memories. I'll let you gather yourself for a moment. And we've been looking at some of the fantastic goals he scored, all different kinds of goals, volleys and headers. He was wonderful finisher, and he had that smile always, didn't he? Do you remember many memories of being in the dressing room and sort of memories that come to mind when you think back of your time with Denis?
Yeah, well, it's pretty private when you talk about changing rooms, but he was an exceptional person. He was, if he was in your side, you knew you had a chance of winning something or doing something, because he could, if the game wasn't going your way, sometimes he suddenly pop up and put one in the back of the net. He was that type of person. He scored goals. He could create goals. He was, and he was a superb person as well. That's what's most important. And also lucky at that particular time to play with my captain, Tony Book, who was one of the great players as well. Which I'd like you to mention sometimes about him, because he was a special person and a great player. So I've lost two exceptional people in a matter of 10 days, and 12 days, which is very difficult at my age. Anyway.
I understand, Mike. Yeah, like you say, Tony Book, I mean, your former captain, I mean, part of that golden era, wasn't he? Won domestic and European honours as a player, and then went on to have a career as a manager as well. What was he like as a captain, Tony Book?
Well, he was first time I played against him. He played for Bath City, and then he went to Plymouth Argyle. So I knew Tony Book very, very well. He was a very close friend of mine. He was just an exceptional player. He was quick. He could read the game. He knew the game, and also he went into managerial part of the game as well. No coaching side. So he was an exceptional talent as a player and as a manager and a coach. And Denis was exactly the same. To have two people in the same city as Denis Law and Tony Book at that particular time was exceptional.
It's been a tough week for the city of Manchester, whether you're a Manchester City fan or a Manchester United fan, with two legends of the game sadly passing away. And Mike Summerbee is another legend of the game. We thank you for your time this morning on Sky Sports News. I appreciate it's a tough one to talk about, so thank you for coming on. And we really do appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. It was really a pleasure to talk about two great players.
There's not one statue of Denis Law at Old Trafford. There's two. One of them's in the Stretford End. One of them's alongside his former teammate, George Best, and Sir Bobby Charlton. All three of them were European Player of the Year. Can you imagine that? All three of them in the same team, in the same position. And they're all slightly different. They're all heroes. He played in some of the best teams. The first English team to win the European Cup. Not that he'd celebrate the Englishness of it, because he was a proud Scot, and scored goals wherever he went. Fans loved him. Real hero of the Stretford End, and it's very, very sad. And the sentiments I'm seeing when I'm speaking to people and getting messages and looking at social media, they're exactly the same. He was universally adored.
Well, to this day, Law is still the only Scottish player to have ever won the European Footballer of the Year award. Sports writer and broadcaster Henry Winter says he'll be remembered for the person he was as well as his footballing achievements.
He played for Manchester United and Manchester City and is revered on both sides. He had friends on both sides of what for some is a divide in Manchester, and that just shows the sort of the spirit of the man. I went to see him at his golf club just to talk to him about his book, and the first 5 minutes was just talking about what type of tea I wanted. I mean, he was just like that. He was a very warm, very generous, very likable man. So I think we should mourn the man as well as a great player. Mourn the man.
Wayne Rooney is one of only 2 players to have scored more goals than Law for Manchester United, and he paid tribute saying, "Legend, thoughts with all Dennis's family and friends." Gary Neville posted, "Rest in peace, Dennis, a great footballer and a great man. It's a privilege and an honour to have spent time in your company, the king of the Stretford End." Sir Kenny Dalglish and Sir Alex Ferguson also paid tribute. Live to our reporter Alan Owen, who's at Old Trafford. Alan, I'm sure there have been tributes pouring in. What's the mood like where you are?
Yeah, good morning, Gail. Plenty of tributes pouring in for Denis Law. That sad news that broke last night, a player who was worshipped here at Old Trafford. And if I step out of shot here, you'll be able to see already some of the floral tributes that have been paid at the bottom of the statue of Best, Law and Charlton. Some of these came in last night, but already this morning you can see plenty of people gathering. One reading there, the floral tribute that says, "Good night, Dennis, King of the Stretford End," and these tributes will continue to come throughout the day. In fact, we arrived very early this morning, and now there are a number of people gathering, and I would suspect that these flowers will continue to grow at the bottom of this statue for Denis Law, absolutely worshipped by those that support Manchester United. And you can also see there a Huddersfield Town scarf. Let's not forget that he began his career at the age of 16 at Huddersfield Town before his move to Manchester City and his 11 years that he spent at Manchester United. These tributes will continue to come, and we await to hear how Manchester United will actually honour the great man. I'm sure that they will over the course of the next few days, and no doubt that will happen initially with the game that Manchester United play tomorrow in the Premier League against Brighton. There will certainly be a period of respect for the man known as the King.
And the place you stand, the statues behind you, so significant, aren't they? What he did, what he represented. What are people saying to you about his significance and his role in the history of Manchester United this morning?
I think it's interesting, Gail. We've had both young and old Manchester United fans, and obviously the older ones are able to recall the great Denis Law in person themselves. Many will have only seen the footage from television shots, but there are many elderly people, if I can call them that saw Denis Law week in, week out, and they've already stated to me that he was simply one of the greatest that they have ever seen, along with the likes of George Best and Sir Bobby Charlton. They were a great trio without a shadow of a doubt. And Denis Law had a personality on the football pitch. He had a character. He had that trademark celebration. And in the days of black and white, I think he brought the colour to Manchester United, along with Sir Bobby Charlton and George Best. He was worshipped by the fans. 400 appearances plus for Manchester United, 237 goals, putting him third on the all-time list behind Bobby Charlton and Wayne Rooney. But as I say, it wasn't just the goals and the titles that he won that endeared him to the Manchester United fans. It was his style of football, iconic in his celebration, as I say, and a sort of cheeky impudence that he had on the pitch. And these tributes that we see here will continue to pour in throughout the day. And I think, let's remember, Manchester City as well. He played a part with them, and it's the city of Manchester that are grieving for the loss of the great Denis Law.
Thank you very much.